All right, settle in, because we're about to dive into a debate that's fueled more internet arguments than whether pineapple belongs on pizza. Godzilla. That name, that legend, it used to mean one thing and one thing only. An R32 Skyline GTR, a beast that roared onto the scene at Bathurst in 1989 and, frankly, ate Holdens for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It was unstoppable, undeniable. Fast forward to today, and the R35 GTR proudly claims the same fearsome nickname. But here's the thing, and it's a big thing. The R35 has never turned a wheel in that legendary Australian race. It's never carried a Skyline badge, shedding that iconic heritage. And let's be honest, it's never let you row your own gears with a proper manual transmission. So, before we even think about wasting a single precious liter of high-octane fuel, we've got to ask, if the monster never goes hunting in the very jungle that birthed its legend, is it still the apex predator? Or is it just a ridiculously fast, incredibly impressive, but ultimately a very expensive zoo exhibit? That's the question we're tackling, and trust me, it's not as simple as a yes or no. The benchmark, the original Godzilla, the R32. Let's rewind the clock, way back to 1989. Nissan wasn't just building a car, they were building a statement. They desperately needed a homologation special, a street-legal version of a race car, to dominate Group A touring car racing. What they unleashed upon the world was a brick-shaped, box-flared sedan that looked like it meant business, because it absolutely did. Under its hood throbbed the legendary RB26D, a 2.6-liter twin-cam, twin-turbo inline-six. Officially, it was rated at 276 horsepower. Why 276? Because of a rather peculiar gentleman's agreement among Japanese automakers to cap advertised horsepower figures for public safety. But everyone, and I mean everyone, knew that was a polite, well-dressed lie. Dyno tests consistently showed these cars pushing closer to 320 horsepower right off the showroom floor. This wasn't just about raw power, though. Nissan threw the entire technological playbook at the R32. You got two turbos, of course, but also the revolutionary Atessa ETS all-wheel drive system. This wasn't some crude, constantly engaged AWD. It was a clever setup that primarily sent power to the rear wheels, only diverting up to 50% of torque to the front tires when slip was detected. It meant the R32 felt like a rear-wheel drive car until it needed that extra bite. Then there was the high-cast four-wheel steering, subtly adjusting the rear wheels to enhance agility and stability. And the body, so stiff, so rigid, it felt like it was hewn from a single block of granite, giving the driver an incredible sense of connection and control. The results were immediate and utterly devastating. The R32 didn't just compete, it dominated. It won an astonishing 29 out of 29 races in the Japanese Touring Car Championship, JTCC, a feat that remains legendary to this day. It then flew across the ocean to Australia, a land where V8-powered Fords and Holdens reigned supreme and absolutely humiliated them on their home turf at Mount Panorama. The R32 became the first Japanese car to win the prestigious Bathurst 1000 in 1991, and then did it again in 1992. The Australian media, witnessing this unprecedented, monstrous performance, needed a name, and they found it. In July 1989, Wheels magazine splashed the headline, "Godzilla Stomps the Outback." The name stuck because the car behaved exactly like the movie monster, unstoppable, unsubtle, and utterly disrespectful of the established order. It wasn't just a car, it was a force of nature, a legend in the making that redefined what a Japanese performance car could be. The newcomer, the R35, arrives now. Let's fast forward a couple of decades to 2007. Nissan was ready to unleash its next-generation monster, but this time things were different. They dropped the iconic Skyline prefix entirely, keeping just the legendary GTR suffix. This wasn't just a branding change, It signified a fundamental shift in philosophy. The R35 was no longer a high-performance variant of a sedan platform. It was a standalone model, built from the ground up on its own unique, premium midship chassis. Under the hood, the heart of this new beast was the VR38 Diet, a hand-built 3.8-liter twin-turbo V6, each one assembled by highly qualified specialists in Nissan's Tochigi plant. This engine, while a V6 and not an inline-six like its predecessor, was a technological marvel, featuring variable valve timing, plasma-sprayed bores for extreme durability, and integrated turbochargers for optimal efficiency. Bolted behind it wasn't a manual, but a sophisticated six-speed dual-clutch gearbox, the Borg-Warner GR6. This transmission, mounted in the rear for better weight distribution, was designed for lightning-fast shifts, capable of changing gears in as little as 0.15 seconds in R mode. The R35 packed an arsenal of advanced tech: launch control to catapult it off the line, adaptive dampers to constantly adjust the ride, a carbon composite drive shaft, twin air-to-liquid intercoolers, and more computing power than, well, probably the entire Apollo lunar module program. Stock output started around 480 horsepower, quickly climbing to 545, then pushing past 600 horsepower in later Nismo trims. The numbers it could achieve were, and still are, mind-boggling. 0 to 60 in a staggering 2.9 seconds, a figure that, for years, embarrassed supercars costing 2 or 3 times as much, even challenging the likes of a Ferrari 488. The R35 doesn't chase racing trophies in the same vein as the R32. Its competitive arena often appears to be YouTube leaderboards and track day bragging rights. It annihilated the Nürburgring in 7 minutes 8 seconds. It ripped down the quarter mile in 10.6 seconds. It could effortlessly cruise at 196 mph on the Autobahn. In nearly every objective metric, it was faster, safer, quieter, and undeniably more reliable than its ancestor. So, given all this undeniable, earth-shattering performance, why does almost every internet comment section, every forum, every cars and coffee debate scream, "It's not a real Godzilla"? That, my friends, is where the real story begins to unfold. Tale of the tape. Numbers versus soul. Let's be honest, we all love a good spec sheet. We pore over the numbers, compare the figures, and use them to fuel our arguments in forums and at the pub. So let's lay them out, the cold, hard facts that everyone loves to paste into their online debates. The R32, weight, approximately $3,200 lb, 1,480 kg. Official horsepower, 276 HP, with that knowing wink wink to the gentleman's agreement, meaning closer to 320 HP in reality. Transmission, 5-speed manual, 0-60 mph, around 5.0 seconds quarter mile, approximately 13.2 seconds. The R35, let's take a 2020 track edition for a strong comparison. Weight, approximately 3,840 lb, 1,740 kg. Horsepower, 565 HP or even 600 plus HP for Nismo. Transmission, 6-speed dual-clutch, DCT, 0-60 mph, as low as 2.9 seconds quarter mile, as low as 10.6 seconds. On paper, the modern R35 absolutely obliterates the classic R32. There's no contest. The R35 is a technological marvel, a triumph of engineering that can out-accelerate, outbrake, and often out-handle its legendary ancestor. But here's the crucial point. Paper doesn't account for the goosebump-inducing, spine-tingling soundtrack of an RB26 screaming its way to 8,000 RPM. It doesn't capture the satisfying mechanical clack of the old high-cast pump engaging, or the sheer, unadulterated satisfaction of perfectly heel and towing down to second gear for a challenging hairpin. Numbers tell the brain a story of objective superiority. But experience, the raw, unfiltered sensation of driving that tells the soul a completely different, often more compelling story. And that, right there, is the heart of the Godzilla debate. It's not just about who's fastest, it's about who connects with you, who makes you feel something primal and irreplaceable. Driving the legend, the R32 experience. All right, let's peel back the layers and truly get inside the R32. Climb into the driver's seat. What hits you first? The seat bolsters. They don't exactly hug you like a modern race seat. They're more like a comfortable, slightly worn 1990s Japanese sofa. Soft in the middle, maybe a little frayed on the edges, but surprisingly supportive in its own way. The interior is a symphony of utilitarian plastics and straightforward gauges. There's no fancy digital display, just clear analog dials waiting for you to ignite the magic. Turn the key. You hear it, don't you? That distinct, almost mechanical whir as the fuel pump primes. Then the dash lights dance across the instrument cluster, a brief, colorful ballet before they settle. And then, the moment of truth. The straight-six RB26 catches with a lumpy, purposeful idle, a deep, resonant rumble echoing through the twin 2.5-inch exhaust pipes. It's a sound that promises something special, something raw. Engage first gear. It's short, punchy, designed for immediate acceleration. You press the throttle, and initially, there's a moment of anticipation, a slight breath-holding pause. Then, at around 3,500 RPM, the twin turbos spool up, and boost arrives like a light switch, flipping from off to full on. It's not linear, it's an explosion, a sudden shove that pins you back in your seat and sends the horizon rushing toward you. The car itself feels small, incredibly nimble and urgent. It's almost delicate in its responsiveness, yet undeniably potent. That Atessa all-wheel drive system? It's clever and skilled enough. You can still paint thick black stripes on the tarmac with the rear wheels. There's no traction control to bail you out, no intrusive ABS pulse to cheat physics and scrub speed. It's just pure mechanical grip, your right foot and your hands on the wheel. It demands your full attention, your complete engagement. Driving an R32 is a visceral experience. It's raw in the way a rally car is raw. Every pebble, every subtle camber change in the road, every gust of wind seems to petition the steering wheel, transmitting every nuance directly to your fingertips. And when those turbos really spool, when that surge of power hits, the world outside compresses, blurring like you've hit fast forward on an old VHS tape. That unbridled violence, that unapologetic dominance, is precisely what Australians celebrated. It was, and still is, a four-door sedan that punched far, far above its weight class, a truly legendary machine that demands to be driven, not just pointed. Driving the cyborg, the R35 experience. Now, let's transition from the raw, analog world of the R32 to the meticulously engineered digital realm of the R35. Slide into the seat, and immediately, a different kind of experience begins. The steering wheel telescopes, finding that perfect ergonomic sweet spot. The dash doesn't just light up, it boots up, a complex high-resolution display coming to life like a PlayStation 5 firing up. It's modern, sophisticated, and a stark contrast to the R32's charming simplicity. Thumb the starter button. The VR38DT V6 catches with a refined woofle, a deeper, more muted growl than the RB26. This isn't a car designed to announce its presence with an aggressive bark until you explicitly tell it to. Pull the right paddle for first gear. The computer seamlessly matches revs, a testament to its precision. And then there's the launch control sequence. It's a ritual. Traction control off. Left foot hard on the brake, right foot flat to the throttle. The engine revs build. The car hunkers down, every system poised. Release the brake. The car doesn't just accelerate, it catapults. Your stomach feels like it's still at the stoplight while your brain struggles to process the rapidly climbing numbers on the heads-up display. Each upshift, delivered with brutal efficiency by the GR6 dual-clutch transmission, feels less like a gear change and more like being drop-kicked by a kangaroo, ferociously powerful, yet utterly clinical in its execution. Mid-corner, the R35's engineering genius truly shines. Understeer, the car's complex code actively works to prevent it. The R35 is so incredibly competent, so flawlessly executed, that it has a peculiar side effect. It masks speed. 120 miles per hour feels like a mere 70. It's stable, composed, and relentlessly fast. This very competency, this almost surgical precision, is precisely why detractors often label it a PlayStation on wheels. The computer intermediates every single interaction, constantly editing out the imperfections, the raw edges, the unpredictable elements that often make driving feel truly human. But for some, it sacrifices a degree of visceral connection in its pursuit of ultimate, repeatable performance. The soundtrack, a symphony of two eras. Let's be honest, for any true petrolhead, the sound a car makes is as integral to its identity as its horsepower figures or its badge. It's the engine's voice, its personality. So imagine starting both cars back to back, letting their mechanical hearts beat for you. The R32, with its legendary RB26, sings a raw, mechanical aria. Through a proper 3-inch straight pipe, you first get that distinctive turbo whistle, a high-pitched whine-building anticipation. Then, as the revs climb past 6,000 RPM, it erupts into a metallic bark, a furious, almost angry howl that sends shivers down your spine. And when you lift off the throttle after a hard pull, there's that glorious compressor surge, a rapid pst 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 that sounds like a rally-bred Impreza on a double dose of steroids. It's loud, it's unrefined, and it's utterly intoxicating. It's the sound of pure, unadulterated mechanical fury. The R35, on the other hand, plays a deeper, more syncopated baritone. The VR38 DETT, especially in earlier models, delivers a powerful, almost NASCAR-like rumble, a guttural roar that's less JDM tuner car and more brute force. When you lift off the throttle, you might catch a subtle sneeze from the recirculating valve, but it's often buried deep beneath layers of cabin insulation and sound deadening. It's a powerful sound, no doubt, but it's engineered, filtered, and somewhat distant. Ask any bystander which car sounds scarier, which one sounds like a true monster, and they'll point at the R32 every single time. Why? Because volume, pitch, and the sheer mechanical proximity of the sound often trump outright decibels. The R32's soundtrack is an unfiltered assault on the senses, a direct line to the engine's raw emotions. The R35 is more like a high-fidelity recording, impressive, powerful, but lacking that immediate, unedited aggression. It's the difference between being at a live rock concert and listening to it through studio headphones. Both are great, but one just feels more alive. Daily reality. Sacrifice versus convenience. Let's face it, very few of us live on a racetrack. So how do these two titans stack up when it comes to the mundane, often frustrating reality of daily driving? The answer, as you might expect, highlights their fundamental differences. Commute in an R32, and you're signing up for an experience. Don't expect cup holders. This car was designed for driving, not sipping lattes. Airbags? Forget about it. The radio might pick up 2 FM stations on a good day, and even then, the sound quality will transport you straight back to 1990. The clutch pedal? It feels like a leg press machine after an hour in traffic, demanding constant effort from your left quad. The HVAC system works, usually, until that notorious heater core decides to spring a leak, dripping coolant onto your sneakers. And trying to parallel park? Good luck. The turning circle rivals a school bus, especially thanks to the old high-cast system. That, at low speeds, steers the rear wheels in the opposite direction, making tight maneuvers a genuine chore. Owning an R32 as a daily driver is a commitment, a constant reminder of its raw, uncompromising nature. It's an act of love, a willingness to endure quirks for the privilege of experiencing its legend. Now, slide into the R35 for your morning commute. It's a different world entirely. Dual-zone climate control keeps you comfortable, whether you're battling a heat wave or a blizzard. An 11-speaker Bose sound system immerses you in your favorite tunes, seamlessly integrated with modern infotainment. Adaptive cruise control handles the stop-and-go traffic, allowing you to relax, relatively speaking, on the highway. The trunk swallows 2 full golf bags with ease, making it surprisingly practical. And perhaps most importantly, it fires up every morning without drama, asking no great sacrifice from its owner. It's reliable, predictable, and delivers a real-world 22 mpg on the highway if you manage to stay out of boost. A challenge, but a possibility. For many, this usability, this seamless integration into modern life, is the R35's ultimate superpower, making supercar performance accessible and practical. But for others, that very convenience, that lack of demanding imperfection, is its kryptonite, diluting the myth of the raw, untamed Godzilla. It's the ultimate paradox. The R35 is a more refined, more civilized monster, but does a monster truly need to be civilized? Racing pedigree. Trophies versus lap times. This is where the Godzilla debate often gets its sharpest edges. A monster's legend is built on its conquests, right? And the R32's conquests are the stuff of automotive folklore. This car didn't just race, it dominated on every continent it touched. We're talking about the Spa 24 Hours, the Nürburgring JTCC, the Macau Goya Street Circuit, and, of course, the Australian Bathurst 1000, where it famously broke the race's lap record by a full 2 seconds. One moment, in particular, cemented the R32's place in history. It was the 1992 Tooheys 1000 at Bathurst. In a controversial, rain-shortened race, Jim Richards, driving the R32, crossed the finish line first. As he stood on the podium, soaked in champagne, the partisan Bathurst crowd, furious that a Japanese car had once again beaten their beloved V8s, booed him relentlessly. Richards, never one to back down, famously retorted, "You're a pack of arseholes," and later, "You're a pack of plonkers." That unapologetic defiance, that absolute dominance in the face of hostility, solidified the R32's legendary status. It won on Sunday, and you had to buy on Monday because there was nothing else like it. Now, what about the R35's factory racing record? It's sparse, especially when compared to its ancestor. It certainly competed, notably in GT500 in Japan, but it was often hobbled by weight ballast and restrictive regulations designed to level the playing field. Customer teams took the R35 to GT3 spec, and it achieved some success, but it never truly dominated entire series or became the unassailable force that the R32 was. Nissan's own marketing for the R35 largely pivoted away from trophy cabinets and race wins. Instead, it focused on road performance comparisons against established European supercars like the Porsche 911 Turbo, highlighting its blistering lap times and incredible value proposition. The R32 was a car that earned its nickname through battle, through brutal, undeniable supremacy on the racetrack. It won on Sunday, so you'd buy one on Monday, driven by the desire for that same untamed performance. The R35, on the other hand, often wins on YouTube on Tuesday, showing off its incredible Nürburgring times or its ability to embarrass a Ferrari at a drag strip, hoping you'll finance one at 3.9% APR. It's a different kind of victory, a different kind of legend, but one that undeniably shapes its identity in the modern automotive landscape. The cultural split. Legacy earned versus legacy inherited. This is where the rubber truly meets the road in the Godzilla debate. Scroll through Reddit, lurk in Facebook groups, or just eavesdrop at any cars and coffee gathering, and you'll quickly discover a deep, often passionate cultural split. For many owners and enthusiasts under the age of 30, the R35 is Godzilla. Why? Because it annihilates stoplights. It crushes lap times. It delivers supercar performance for what they perceive as a fraction of the cost. For them, Godzilla is synonymous with raw, undeniable speed and technological dominance in the modern era. the R35 embodies that spirit of being an unstoppable force, a monster that can humble more exotic machinery with surprising ease. They argue that legacy isn't static, it's transferable, evolving with the times and the technology. However, if you talk to owners and purists over 40, you'll hear a very different story. For them, Godzilla died when the R34's iconic taillights faded into the sunset around 2002. They argue that the nickname originated from a specific kind of dominance, not just outright speed, but racing dominance. A car built for homologation that fundamentally changed the rules of competition. The R32 earned its name through bloody battles on the track, through defying expectations and literally forcing rule changes. The R35, they contend, never entered that same arena, never fought those same wars. It's a different car, built on a different platform, with a different engine and a different philosophy. For them, the R35 is an incredible machine, a technological tour de force, but it's not the Godzilla. The name, they insist, is earned, not simply inherited or bestowed based on raw performance metrics. Both camps, in their own way, are right, and both are, to some extent, wrong. And that precisely is why this debate is so evergreen, so endlessly fascinating. It's not just about cars, it's about what we value: raw, analog engagement versus digital precision, historical lineage versus contemporary performance, the grit of a racing legend versus the clinical efficiency of a modern supercar killer. It's a clash of generations, of philosophies, and of what truly defines a legend in the automotive world. Mod potential: untamed beast versus tuner's canvas. Let's talk about power, the kind that makes you grin like a maniac. Both the R32 and R35 offer immense tuning potential, but they approach it from completely different eras with different challenges and different rewards. Want to bolt a standalone ECU, bigger turbos, and feed an RB26 a steady diet of 100-octane race fuel? 600 horsepower is absolutely doable, and many have pushed them far beyond that, even into the 1,000 HP range. The iron block of the RB26 is incredibly stout, a testament to its over-engineered design. However, you're dealing with 30-year-old wiring harnesses, brittle plastics, and a diminishing supply of factory replacement parts. Nissan has long discontinued new short blocks, making sourcing components a treasure hunt. Tuning an R32 is an art form, a delicate balance of pushing limits while respecting the age and inherent weaknesses of its components. It often requires deep mechanical knowledge, patience, and a significantly open wallet for specialized parts and experienced tuners. It's a labor of love, a dedication to resurrecting and enhancing a classic. Now do the same on a VR38 Det in an R35. 800 horsepower, that's practically a pulley and tune away for many. The aftermarket is absolutely flooded with options. You can find billet blocks, dry sump kits, and even complete 1,500 horsepower drag packages designed to turn the R35 into a quarter-mile weapon. The VR38, with its plasma-sprayed bores, is capable of handling over 1,000 horsepower without needing expensive sleeving. The R35 is, in many ways, the Honda Civic of the 1,000 horsepower world. Ubiquitous, incredibly well-documented, and almost boring in its repeatability and scalability. Want 1,000 horsepower? Find a reputable tuner, hand over your credit card, and they'll make it happen reliably. This incredible scalability is precisely what keeps the R35 relevant and competitive in the performance world. It means that even years after its introduction, it can still hang with and often beat the latest and greatest supercars. But this ease of modification, this widespread availability of parts and proven recipes, also turns Godzilla into something of a commodity. It's less about the unique struggle of extracting power from an old legend, and more about following a well-trodden path to extreme performance. It's a different kind of thrill, but a thrill nonetheless. Cost of entry: investment versus depreciating asset. Beyond the raw performance and the subjective driving experience, there's a very real, very tangible factor that influences the perception and desirability of both these cars: the cost of entry and ownership. This is where the tale of two Godzillas takes a particularly interesting turn. Today, a clean, well-maintained R32 GTR in the States can trade hands for around $45,000. Find a sunroof delete, low-mileage example, especially one with a strong service history, and you could easily be looking at prices touching $70,000 or even significantly more for rare Nismo or V-Spec models. What do you get for that money? You get a tangible piece of automotive history, a deep well of nostalgia, the undeniable rarity of a federally legal import, and a dashboard that charmingly smells distinctly of 1990. More than that, you're buying into a rapidly appreciating asset. The R32, once a relatively affordable performance car, has become a bona fide classic, its value steadily climbing as more examples become legal for import and fewer pristine ones remain. It's an investment, a passion project, and a ticket to a bygone era of driving. Now, consider a used 2015 R35 GTR with, say, 40,000 miles on the odometer. You'll find it hovering near that same $70,000 mark. Original script. Think about that. For roughly the same price, you're getting a car with twice the cylinders. If you count the RB26 as 2 banks of 3, a bit of a stretch. But you get the idea. Half the age, and objectively, significantly more performance. One is an appreciating classic, a collector's item whose value is expected to continue its upward trajectory. The other, the R35, is, financially speaking, a depreciating appliance. While it offers incredible performance for the money, it's still a modern car, subject to the relentless forces of depreciation, technological obsolescence, and the ever-present march of newer, faster models. So, the choice becomes clear, though no less difficult. Do you choose the nostalgia, the rarity, and the potential financial upside of a classic, knowing you'll likely incur higher maintenance costs and a less refined daily experience? Or do you opt for the raw, unadulterated speed, modern amenities, and relative reliability of the R35, knowing it will steadily lose value but deliver mind-blowing performance every single day? It's a choice between two very different forms of automotive poison, each with its own unique flavor and consequences. The verdict: two monsters, one name. So, after all this, the burning question remains: is the R35 still Godzilla? The answer, as with most things worth debating, isn't a simple yes or no. It depends entirely on your definition of the monster. If your metric for Godzilla is raw, untamed, racing-born dominance that fundamentally rewrites rulebooks and humiliates the competition on the track, then, with all due respect to the R35, the answer is no. The R32 earned its crown through blood, sweat, and turbo boost, beating the best on Sunday and laughing about it on Monday, forcing regulatory bodies to change rules just to slow it down. The R35, for all its incredible capabilities, never entered that specific arena with the same factory-backed, homologation special ferocity. It can't claim the same throne, not in that historical racing context. But, and this is a colossal but, if Godzilla simply means a giant, unstoppable monster that flattens supercars for half the price, delivering mind-bending performance with shocking efficiency, then the R35 wears that costume with absolute conviction. It is undeniably faster, objectively safer, infinitely easier to live with, and still undercuts a Porsche 911 Turbo by 6 figures, offering unmatched performance value. In that context, the spirit of Godzilla, the spirit of ultimate performance and value disruption, absolutely survives. It's a spirit that has been digitized, filtered through layers of advanced computing, and carefully EPA certified. But it's there. So, here's the final call, the nuanced truth. The R32 is the authentic, original Godzilla, the raw, snarling beast born of racing necessity and analog grit. The R35, on the other hand, is Godzilla's tech-savvy nephew. This nephew skipped military school, went straight to MIT, and now crushes lap records while streaming Spotify, handling his investments, and probably ordering takeout on the way home. They share the same incredible DNA, the same underlying drive for performance and dominance, but they embody it with vastly different attitudes, different approaches, and different eras of technology. Legacy isn't just about speed. It's about the story, the narrative. And the R35's chapters are still being written, carving its own unique path into legend. So, what do you think? Drop a comment below. Does the R35 deserve to wear the Godzilla crown? Or should that legendary nickname have retired gracefully with the R34? And if you ever see either of these magnificent monsters at a Cars and Coffee, do yourself a favor. Give them a respectful nod. Because whether they're old-school analog or new-school cyber, both of these machines still stomp harder, corner faster, and thrill more profoundly than almost anything else on the planet.